G'day, battlers, and today we are jumping in for a Brawler Cup Tournament sweep using one of the most dangerous cores in the entire Brawler Cup, the Vigrigus core. That is Vigoroth and Cofagrigus, the 1-2 combo. Now, this was a core that was brought to my attention by Silph. I'm going to link to his analysis of the Brawler Cup down below. It's on the Silph Arena subreddit. He always just does some really incredible work, kind of diving into these new cups in both Silph Arena and GBL, so definitely check that out if you have not already. But he mentions this Vigrigus core, the Vigoroth Cofagrigus combo. Now, these two Pokemon really kind of cover each other's weaknesses really well. I think JRE actually mentions that he was brought to his attention by Polymers Up and Tangent of the Ghost Stadium team. So it's definitely going to be a pretty interesting combo. Vigoroth, a really spammy Pokemon, can be really dangerous with a little bit of extra energy. Has that counter, the best fast move in the entire game. Has the Body Slam spam as well, with the same type attack bonus, because Vigoroth is a normal type. And then you pair that up with Cofagrigus, who is just another really bulky Pokemon. Also pretty dangerous if you get a little bit of energy on it as well. I think Verdugo is going to be running the Dark Pulse and Shadow Ball variant in this video. He mentioned it beforehand when he was sending me the footage. But yeah, essentially it's a really powerful combo. They cover each other really well. And to be honest, one of the best counters to the Vigrigus core is a Vigrigus core. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how this tournament sort of unfolds. But the rest of Verdugo's team here is Greedent in slot 1, which is another really interesting Pokemon. Like, I don't think I've given it enough credit. I think JRE actually also mentioned that there's a lot of people talking about Greedent in that slot 1. And I think because slot 1 is one of those picks that it's kind of hard to know what to put in there. So we'll kind of see if Verdugo can sort of convince me that Greedent definitely deserves that slot. It's definitely a really bulky Pokemon, and against Pokemon like that Raining Castform that we can already see on the other side, you can definitely do a fair bit of work there. But Verdugo is actually not just running the Vigoroth and Cofagrigus. Verdugo is also running Sableye, which is another Pokemon that is really good, really gets, like, you get a little bit of energy and you can really just start running away with it. It's sort of a similar Pokemon to that Vigoroth and the Cofagrigus, where they all work as really powerful safe swaps in this meta. So I think we might see all three of those Pokemon do some really good job through this tournament. And then in slot 5, we've got that Shadow Abomasnow, really spammy Pokemon, can do a lot of damage against some of the big picks in this meta. And then the slot number 6, the Shadow Dragonite, huge Dragon Breath pressure coming out of that thing. Like, it can just hit like a truck, and if you give it shields, you're just going to be able to demolish the other team as well. So jumping over to Zephymastyx's side in this round 1, who despite the team, I do not think they actually have a CP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it is just they got a little bit lazy. I mean, it's a practice tournament. You don't have to put in the numbers necessarily because it isn't a ranked thing, but you know, still a little bit lazy there. But got the Raining Castform in slot 1, the Ninetales in slot 2, Noctowl, Cofagrigus as also in slot 4, Sirfetch'd and Steelix in that last slot as well. So I think Ninetales, particularly on this team, is probably going to act as a pretty good counter to the Cofagrigus core. As much as they really cover each other's weaknesses, I think Ninetales is one of those Pokemon that can sort of break the core a little bit. Has to be a little bit scared of energy, but we'll just jump into this tournament and kind of see how they do. And of course, if you haven't already, do go ahead and subscribe for all the Brawler Cup content coming out in the future. But a pretty good lead there with the Vigoroth into that shiny Steelix. So quick swap out into the shiny Ninetales as well. I'm kind of wondering if this might be a full shiny team on Zephy's side. But this kind of turns it from, like I just mentioned, that Ninetales is a pretty good counter-ish to the Vigoroth Cofagrigus core, but because Vigoroth had that extra energy before Ninetales swapped in, Vigoroth is putting on a lot of pressure and can kind of flip this matchup a little bit. So already getting a shield out of that Ninetales and catching the move into Cofagrigus, really, really nicely played there. And it is just the Fire Weather Ball as well. We're gonna have to do a little bit of interpretation, I think, just because it is not in English, so I'll kind of have to play it by the animation a little bit there, but hoping that it is just another Fire Weather Ball. It looks like that was actually an overheat, so absolutely nuking the Cofagrigus. So I think that actually kind of puts Verdugo in an alright spot, because you could bring in something, get a little bit of farm, but unfortunately Zephy has that Cofagrigus in the back, and this kind of puts Vigoroth in a really rough spot, because Vigoroth is really just walled by Cofagrigus. Like, it's got that Bulldoze, but Bulldoze is 1, not a good move, 2, doesn't have the same type of attack bonus, 3, isn't super effective. It's just not a great move, and it's the only move that isn't resisted. So luckily he's able to swap out of there, keeping Vigoroth a little bit healthy. It has the Sableye as well, and Sableye is definitely going to tank a move from this Cofagrigus, but we'll see how it does end up playing out, because at this point, this Sableye is going to have to do a lot of work up against Zephy's team. So we saw it the full farm down. Here comes this Steelix, and there is a little bit of a Ninetales in the back as well. So at this point, just going for the foul plays, which is not a bad idea at all. At this point, I feel like you have to be just throwing another foul play. And then this is definitely going to start adding up. And I think you have to be a little bit worried about the Ninetales sack swap in the back. So you definitely have to time your moves pretty well here to make sure that you don't end up having that happen. Looks like shielding up the crunch there, and actually because Dragon Tail is a pretty slow move, Verdugo was able to recognize that Zephy threw the Dragon Tail and then was able to tap on the foul play, so there was no chance that Ninetales swapped in before the animation was done. So Verdugo able to take out that first round, using the core pretty well there, and going into game 2 with the Shadow Dragonite into Noctowl. Again, this is going to do a lot of damage, and if Verdugo decides to burn shields, this is really going to hurt Zephy's side. But it looks like it is the Dragon Claw Draco Meteor moveset, which is definitely a pretty interesting one. I don't think it's one you see very often, especially on a Shadow Dragonite, actually. That's actually really interesting. Let me know if I do have those moves wrong though, but I mean, it is Dragon Claw, it's just the Draco Meteor, but both of them burning the shield, and you can already see how much damage the Shadow Dragonite can do when you give it shields. We actually saw him over farm, go past the Dragon Claw, and now shielding this, so we might see a full farm down. I think that is exactly what we're going to see. Has a lot of energy, ready to throw onto whatever comes in, and the Cofagrigus is coming in. Going for the Dragon Claw instead, potentially hoping that they can get to 2 Dragon Claws, and also keep that second move set hidden. And it looks like we're actually past 2 Dragon Claws. We're getting towards 3. So gets that first shield with the first one, and then just lets that second one come through. Now there are no more shields in play. At this point, you could bring in the Vigoroth to soak up the damage, but there's no real reason to do that. Just bring in Sableye. Again, you are going to be able to tank 1 charge move from this Cofagrigus because of the Ghost and Dark typing. So it is just neutral damage. We see this swap into Ninetales here, and this time Ninetales isn't at the energy disadvantage that it was at before, but there are no more shields in play, so we'll just have to kind of wait and see how this plays out. I think it's not a terrible spot for the Vigoroth, but Ninetales presumably going to go straight for that overheat to just absolutely demolish this Vigoroth, do a whole lot of damage there. That was actually just another Fire Weather Ball, which is kind of interesting there. And Verdugo not throwing the body slam because they recognize they need to get some energy on their Sableye so they can throw the foul play and take Cofagrigus out in the back. That is a really, really nice play there. Brings in the Sableye, farms all the way down, throws this foul play, and this is going to take out the Cofagrigus. That was actually really nice there. Really, really nicely done. Cofagrigus going down and taking out game 2 of round 1. But we are going to jump into game 3 anyway. Seeing that Surfetch in the lead on the other side, instant swap out into that Noctowl, and now Greedent coming out. And actually, it's actually a Crunch Greedent. It's not the oh no, it is always a crunch. I was thinking like, where's the grass move? Bullet Seed. Yeah, Silly Billy, that's the fast move. But yeah, Bullet Seed charging this up really fast. Body slams and crunches going all over the shop. I think the hope here might potentially be to try and get a crunch debuff from the crunch back, or just go for just bulk body slams. I mean, look how this thing charges up so fast. That is gross. How fast this thing charges. But for another body slam going through, at this point, I feel like you might want to shield up here, but can I let it come through? I mean, you're definitely going to be able to get to another charge move. Looks like we are now going for that defense drop, that 30% chance that you get that decreased defense. And we do get the defense drops. That is actually really nice there. With 2 ghost types in the back, up against a Noctowl that has that normal typing, you definitely want to be doing as much damage as you possibly can here. So yeah, it looks like a little bit of mutual lag here. And takes that Noctowl out. So, I mean, Noctowl probably could have got to a charge move there, but I guess we'll just see how this plays out. I mean, maybe just giving some extra farm to Steelix in the back, but yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, it is a practice tournament, so it's not the end of the world, but say Shadow Ball goes through, doesn't go through, gets the shield, and then throwing a Dark Pulse now to maybe just try and get that last shield out of the Steelix. Does get the last shield again. It is actually double Ghost here, so it's not like a great spot up against Steelix either, who does have that crunch. Is able to catch it onto the Sableye, where it's only going to be neutral as opposed to super effective as it would be to Cofagrigus. And Verdugo actually still has both of his shields here, so not in a terrible spot. And kind of actually can afford to not shield that. Just looks like he's going straight for the return here. Surfetched coming in and going for that return now. This Sableye is pretty much done for. But that's going to do, oh my, it's 1-hit KO, that is, that's actually pretty gross. But now Cofagrigus coming in, still has 2 shields as well, so it's not going to be able to Dragon Tail all the way down, and this Cofagrigus is going to take it out. I mean, Noctowl might have been able to get a charge move off, but with the way that the game played out, probably not the end of the world. I mean, again, still had 2 shields in the end of the day, and it was a practice tournament. And Verdugo already won the first 2 games as well, so did already take out the round. So really nicely well played and already kind of displaying the power of that Vigrigus core. But we'll jump into the game 2 now up against ProfessorVitale, who has actually registered their correct CPs, presumably, who's got that Rainy Cast form again, which we didn't see in the last one. I guess there's not like much for it to attack. I suppose, and Abomasnow is pretty scary. And then Wigglytuff, so we're actually seeing Charm come in here, which could be a little bit rough for the Vigrigus core and the Sableye especially. Actually also running the Vigrigus core, so we'll definitely see how it plays out when Vigrigus versus Vigrigus happens, and then also running the Bronzong and the Lapras in the back. Interestingly, that's actually a regular Lapras, not a Shadow Lapras, which I don't think I've seen a regular Lapras in play in this cup yet, so we'll have to kind of wait and see how it does end up playing out, but I'm hoping that we might see some Vigrigus v Vigrigus action, and also both of them flexing that legend pose as well. We've got the Wigglytuff into Vigoroth lead, which is actually a really interesting lead. Like, Vigoroth is a fighter, but it also isn't one that has the fighting typing, so it isn't weak to Charm. Also, Wigglytuff has the normal typing, so it isn't resisting counter, it's neutral. So it's a very interesting matchup. The Body Slam's also going to put on a lot of pressure, and actually not shielding the first one, not denying an extra Charm coming through, which is really nice there as well. That Body Slam going to get that last shield. And at this point, I think our Vigoroth can comfortably get to another Body Slam as well. Actually going to decide to let Vigoroth go down, get a little bit of energy onto something in the back. Not going to swap that Sableye in, because that would be taking way too much damage from Charm. So decides to bring in Cofagrigus and gets a lot of energy because Wigglytuff was resisting those moves. So we're actually seeing that Lapras come in here. Have to kind of think about what's in the back here. Do you want to keep Sableye around? Do you need to keep some energy on this Cofagrigus? But going for that Shadow Ball to just do a whole lot of damage. Boom. Really nice there. And just before the charging from Lapras as well. So the question is, when is Verdugo going to use the shield? And the answer is not yet. Going to hold tight, stay strong, farming up a lot of extra energy there, and now throwing the Dark Pulse onto the Lapras. I mean, maybe we'll see the Sableye swap out. Okay, takes it all the way down, instant swap into the Sableye, and we're now seeing the Sableye versus Vigoroth matchup. This is actually a really, really interesting matchup because, I mean, it's very close. It can kind of come down to IVs in the 2-shield matchup. I think it's only like PvP, the natural Sims have it like 1 turn difference. Vigoroth just going straight Body Slam, Sableye just going straight Foul Play. In the 1-shield though, generally Sableye is going to be able to win it out unless Vigoroth can land the Bulldoze. But because Sableye has the 2-to-1 shield advantage going into this matchup, I think it means that Sableye's probably got this one on lock. He can just go straight Foul Play, had those 2 shields, able to just protect itself from the Body Slams coming through, and I don't think that Vigoroth would be able to get to a Bulldoze on top of burning the 2 shields. So, I mean, yeah, able to take it down. So we have seen some sort of, I guess Sableye was really acting as the Vigoroth counter there, as opposed to the Vigrigus core. But jumping into game 2 now, winning that first one, we've got the Cofagrigus into Lapras now. Again, we've got that Vigoroth hanging out in the back for that really strong core, and then also running that Greedent. So we'll see if Greedent does have some play here. Shadow Ball, going to go through again, take out over half of the health from Lapras. If Verdugo plays it the same way, it looks like he is just going to let this Surf come through. Going to keep farming energy. We'll see if they just actually going to see the swap it into Vigoroth now. So getting some energy on that Cofagrigus, saving it for a little bit later. Maybe if there's a Cofagrigus mirror match, it's going to have the advantage. But Vigoroth comes in, getting some energy, and we are now seeing the Cofagrigus from the other side come in, which is definitely rough. I mean, Cofagrigus is kind of like the best safe swap for the very common Vigoroth safe swap. So that's kind of, it's plays to the strengths a little bit of this core, that both of them act as a really good safe swap, and Sableye as well on Verdugo's team. But eating that Dark Pulse, which is definitely a little bit rough there. At this point, Cofagrigus needs to throw a charge move to stop this Vigoroth from getting to another Bulldoze, but doesn't throw. So this is going to put a little bit of pressure on ProfessorVitale to burn a shield, and they do burn that shield. Okay, so they're just happy to get all of this energy. They know that that other Cofagrigus is running around with some energy, but Verdugo has the Greedent here. Greedent is 16 able to soak up the damage. Actually going to bring in the Cofagrigus of his own. Kind of interesting. Going to let it go, so just soaking up the energy and just going to leave 2 shields to Greedent. This is definitely going to be interesting. Does have the Crunch, so Crunch is going to be able to absolutely annihilate. We're expecting this to be Dark Pulse Shadow Ball, so just going to be going straight Dark Pulses. Shadow Ball would be resisted. We'll see if Cofagrigus goes down here. Interesting what they've got in the back. If it's Vigoroth, they're just going to bring that in and just like do a whole lot of damage. We'll just have to wait and see here. And it is actually the Wigglytuff, so this is a little bit rough for the Greedent. I mean, Crunch is just going to be resisted, so no reason to go for that. So we're just going to go for the Body Slam spam here. I'm not that familiar with the Greedent matchup, so we're going to be learning a little bit here. That doesn't do a ton of damage, and there's still a shield to burn as well. This could be a potentially full Charm farm down. Going for those Body Slams. Better being better. Gets that last shield. Is going to get to 2 Body Slams, and I think, oh, okay, but in the shield. Is 2 Body Slams going to be enough to take this Wigglytuff out? Because then there's still a little bit of health from that Lapras in the back as well. So I feel like this is ProfessorVitale's matchup. to be quite frank. One more Slam would take it out. Eat an extra charm, which is really, really rough there. This will take it Vigoroth out, Wigglytuff out. How much health did the Lapras have? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Gets the body slam. That is absolutely huge. Wow. Verdugo. That extra charm. Eating that extra charm. So important for that matchup. But it looks like we are jumping into the matchup up against Big Green there. We'll let them flex their pose. But yeah, that's really well played. It looks like so we don't have the game 3 of that battle, I suppose. So it just went 2-0 in Verdugo's favor, but really well played regardless. And we'll bring up the next teams now. Going into round 3, which is actually the final round of this tournament. Only a small one, 3-hour tournament, but yeah. I mean, the title spoils it. Obviously, Verdugo is going away with the sweep, but up against Big Green 7, who is one of the best battlers in the world. I mean, if you've been a long-time watcher of this channel, you've seen Big Green do some really great stuff as well. I think he's been featured on Team Rocket Academy's channel as well. Really, really great battler and wins a lot of 7-round tournaments. So, obviously, practice, one of the things that makes that perfect. But looking at Big Green's team, we've got that Snowy Castform, which I'm definitely jealous of. I do not have one. Doesn't snow very much around these areas, as you may be able to guess. Also has the Whiscash, the Vigrigus core again. We're actually running Venusaur and the regular Dragonite. So definitely some interesting Pokemon as well. I think Venusaur is an interesting Pokemon in terms of it's not a bad answer to the Vigrigus core either. It's not a great one. It doesn't really love being in those matchups, but Venusaur with Frenzy Plant can do a lot of damage back. Whiscash, another kind of interesting one. And I'm not sure how Snowy Castform sort of fits into this picture. I mean, I think there's actually a fair bit of stuff that it does sort of hit, especially on Verdugo's team, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we do end up seeing one. But we'll jump into the battles here, flexing their different poses. Verdugo's got that animated one though, which is always nice to see. But we've got the Vigoroth into Vigoroth mirror match. I'm expecting both players to have Cofagrigus in the back for the Vigrigus core, but we'll see who's got CMP, who throws when, if anyone's able to sneak in any moves. It looks like Verdugo may have got an extra move in there. I'm not certain. We'll see how it plays out. Gets it, actually letting that go through. That's really interesting. Maybe Big Green taking a big gamble on the IVs here and doesn't quite take it out. And we're seeing the swap out into Cofagrigus to catch that last body slam. Really nicely played there. But we'll see what the answer is coming from the back. And it is actually the Shadow Dragonite. So I guess that was definitely a normal Dragonite on the thing. Maybe it must have been Shadow Dragonite the whole time, I guess, and just accidentally didn't tick the Shadow box. But yeah, Shadow Dragonite definitely doing a lot of damage here. You can see Cofagrigus just melting away. There would be no reason to burn that shield. So yeah, just lets it go. And at this point, it's kind of up to Sableye a little bit. Gets this body slam off on the Vigoroth before it just evaporates. And gets a lost shield, actually. That's actually really good. Verdugo now in the 2-0 shield advantage spot. Going to be able to burn one shield, I think, and Shadow Claw all the way down. Vigoroth has no health and no energy in the back. So that's going to be like a 1 Shadow Claw free energy if Big Green ever brings it in. But does have to be worried about it being used as a sack swap to catch a move. And it actually brings in the Snowy Castform. So this would be really nice. Yeah, there was the attempted catch onto Vigoroth, but unfortunately just gave Sableye a million more energy. So yeah, just going bulk foul plays now. Would be nice to have the power gem, but no need at this point. And still has the shield as well. 1 foul play plus 1 return. This is probably going to do the job and take out that first game up against Big Green. Really, really nicely done there. And I guess Cofagrigus core working once again, but we've got the Shadow Abomasnow going into Venusaur. Really strong matchup there. Seeing the swap out into Vigoroth, and we're seeing the mirror swap into Sableye again. This is a matchup that can go either way a little bit. Because Vigoroth got the energy advantage, it could... Actually, I don't know if that actually changes things for this matchup. It might stay the same sort of level of, it's going to be a little bit IV dependent if they push it to the 2 shield. If they leave it in the 1 shield, Vigoroth is going to need to try and land that bulldoze. So we'll see how the 2 players do end up going at it. Vigoroth burned that first shield on the foul play. We're going for another foul play now. We'll see what Big Green decides to do. No shield this one. Knew they could take it. We're just going to wait and see whether Verdugo shields this move. Is it the bulldoze? Is it the body slam? And it looks like that is just the body slam. So a little bit of an unfortunate shield, but you know, Sableye is also getting pretty low at this point. So we'll see. Goes for another foul play. Burns the 2 shields. Looks like we're going to be going for the IV department. And so Sableye is going to have to burn the shield here if they want to stay alive. But actually, Verdugo, recognizing that Vigoroth had a little bit of an energy advantage. And oh, the back-to-back too. But yeah, Sableye is going down here. And at this point, you can kind of bring in Shadow Dragonite, get a ton of farm, and there's no shields left on Big Green 7 side, so you can kind of go for the big nuke here. Snowy Castform is about though, unfortunately, so it's going to be Shadow Abomasnow up against the Snowy Castform and the Venusaur. Not a great matchup up against Snowy Castform either. Venusaur was a nice matchup, but Yeah, that's a little bit rough. Maybe try to catch an energy ball there into the Venusaur, but it did not work out, and it's going to give Abomasnow kind of a chance to sort of come back from this a little bit. That Weather Ball going through is, oh my gosh, able to farm all the way down too, and here's the Snowy Castform, going to be able to throw the Energy Ball, and he's almost at another Energy Ball as well. We'll see if there's there's not potential for a catch, but yeah, Energy Ball plus Weather Ball. This is pretty much going to take that Snowy Castform out, and that's going to be GG's. Even landing the Dragonite, even landing the Snowy Castform onto the Dragonite, able to take it out and taking out the entire tournament with a 3-0 sweep as well. But there's some time for one more battle up against one of the best in the world, and you're going to take that opportunity. The Shadow Dragonite up against Cofagrigus in the lead. So we see the swap out into Greedent. This is not good for Verdugo at all. The Vigoroth swapping in, definitely doing a lot of damage with the counters, and the back-to-back, just the body slams being thrown back and forth, spam, 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 spam. One with bullet seeds, one with the counters, and I think generally the one with counters is the one that is going to be coming out on top most of the time. But another body slam coming through, and they're just going to let it come through this time around. Confident they can get to this body slam. Oh no, overtap! Oh, they overtapped the move there, and they weren't able to get the body slam off. That is really unfortunate. Yeah, that sucks. But at least this Cofagrigus isn't really going to take much damage from the... Oh, did get to a Bulldoze, so yeah, but still not tons of damage. But Shadow Claw not doing a ton of damage there, just farming up heaps of energy on that Vigoroth and then swapping out, which does let Verdugo actually swap into their own Vigoroth to kind of counter this Snowy Castform. So not the end of the world, I guess, but that Vigoroth in the back is going to be hard to deal with, especially because both sides still have 2 shields. And this Snowy Castform is going to get this Vigoroth pretty low, especially letting that Weather Ball go through. Looks like we're going to be going... Okay, I thought we were going to go for the full farm down, but no, just farming up tons of energy. Throw one here. If it goes down, which it probably will, going to be just bulk smashing on the body slam. Throw. And that's on both sides as well, because they've both got energy ready and stored up. So, first one going off. No shield. Oh, that's interesting. It's a Shadow Dragonite in the back, and there's still 2 shields in play, so... It's GG's. Big Green's got this one, able to get one last win. He's going to be able to burn both shields off with this Cofagrigus because it got so much energy on the Vigoroth earlier, but Shadow Dragon Breath is just way too powerful and is going to take it all the way down. Verdugo going down with both shields as well. But with all of that, Verdugo able to sweep that tournament with that really, really powerful Vigrigus core. I mean, I think Verdugo just really sort of knew how to play. They knew what they needed to do. They knew where they needed to put things. Vigoroth, Sableye, and Cofagrigus all working as really just wonderful save swaps. I mean, Greedent didn't necessarily win me over so much. Like, it was definitely a pretty good... It was okay. Got body slam spam off, but you know, Vigoroth I think did that a little bit better as well. And then Shadow Dragonite does have some pretty solid stock here. I think it's similar to the Continental Finals if you're watching this channel back then, where Shadow Dragonite can just run away with things if you let it. So it's definitely a really powerful Pokemon, even though Big Green is lying about not having a Shadow Dragonite on his lineup. And then Shadow Abomasnow, kind of interesting pick as well. I feel like it's a little bit situational. Like, you need to be up against a team where it really fits. But the Vigrigus core, it's good against everything. And definitely, I mean, actually 2 out of 3 opponents also were running that Vigrigus core. And the third one was also running Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus definitely like the most picked Pokemon in slot 4 by far. And I think Vigoroth is probably the most picked slot 3 Pokemon as well. We have seen some different team builds like running around that though. It's kind of interesting. I mean, even just looking at Big Green's team here, they have both brought a grass type in that slot 5. They've brought the Shadow Dragonite in slot 6. But in those slots 1 and 2, I mean, Big Green brought the Snowy Castform and the Whiscash, whereas Verdugo brought in that Greedent and the Sableye, which is a very different Pokemon. I kind of like Verdugo's team better. I think the Sableye is a really good Pokemon. And to be honest, I think the Sableye, Vigoroth, Cofagrigus trio is one of the best trios, if not the best trio, in the entire Brawler Cup. So with all of that said, thank you so much for watching. Thanks again to Verdugo for sending that footage through, because it was definitely a lot of fun as well. But yeah, thank you to all of my patrons and supporters over on Twitch, because you guys are the bomb. Whoop, down we go. And yeah, if you haven't already, check out the Meta Simplified as well. JRE's analysis of the Brawler Cup going to be linked in the description down below as well. Also, if you're struggling to build your team, check out PvP Reporter's team building guide. Tell them I sent you. It's definitely a good video, worth checking out. So yeah, see you in the next one.